Hello, I'm Pete Rhodes for Bma Reports. Thank you for joining me for this week in review news update. Here's a look at this week's local headlines. As Minnesota continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic and grapple with the needed police reforms following George Floyd's death, Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan announced that they will convene a special legislative session this month. The governor and lieutenant governor, in conjunction with the People of Color and Indigenous Caucus, priorities for the special session include use of force reform, funding for alternative policing, greater police oversight, and building a stronger and more equitable economy. George Floyd was laid to rest in grand fashion in Houston, Texas, where he grew up. People came from around the country and braved the heat to pay their last respects to a man whose death has galvanized the world. The services included singing by gospel great Kim Burrell and pop R&B star Ne-Yo. Floyd's casket was driven in a horse-drawn carriage to a burial site next to his mother at Houston Memorial Gardens. The civil unrest following the police killing of George Floyd has left many in South Minneapolis wondering, where do they find essential services and mail? Customers who use the Lake Street Postal Service and station will now be served out of the Lauren Post Office in downtown Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Powderhorn Station will remain closed until further notice while repairs are underway. Comcast announced a multi-year company-wide plan to allocate $100 million over 3 years to fight injustices and inequalities. And Comcast Minneapolis and St. Paul announced a donation to support the Twin Cities community relief and rebuilding efforts of $500,000 in cash and in-kind contributions to support the Twin Cities area. Testing is important for COVID-19 outbreaks. The Minnesota Department of Health recommends that those who participated in protests, vigils, and other neighborhood events, even if you don't have symptoms, to test. Testing is available and is open for everyone, symptoms or no symptoms, at no cost. For additional sites in your area, call 1-800-657-3903 or visit the site listed on the screen. In national news, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation announced it will launch 3 initiatives to support social reforms and education needed to advance the global Black community. Created in response to the recent protests and police killings of unarmed African Americans and the unlevel playing field for minorities, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation will place social justice policy fellows in the U.S. Congress for 2 years. They will also establish social justice scholarships for students attending historically Black colleges and universities, and advance racial equity and human rights in research, data, and analysis. The world's largest music publisher, Vivendi, is taking its hip-hop talents to Africa with the launch of Def Jam Africa, the first of UMG's flagship labels to exist as a standalone entity. The Def Jam US label is synonymous with quality hip-hop, and the African version of their label will be representing Afrobeats and trap talent from around the continent. Goldman Sachs estimates that the music like Def Jam Africa will reach $80 billion by 2030. For some, they would say music is medicine for the heart and soul. We close out this week's Bma Reports with a snippet of new music from hometown talent Ashley DeBose. Enjoy.
Left me stranded here, wishing I could have saved us, but we've long disappeared in my dreams. I see you again. I'm trying to make sense of this hole you got on my soul. I can't seem to let you go. I just can't let you go. Yeah. And I know that you won't be here for long. It's just what you do. Keep me hanging on, Lord.
Thank you, Ashley, for that new summer hit, Love Teens. And thank you so much for joining me here for our weekend review update on BMA Reports. Keep it locked here at BMA Cable Networks Channel 937 on Comcast for Music 24/7. And until next time, stay safe, stay well.